to build an $8 billion empire in one of the most, ruthless, margin-squeezing industries on Earth. I mean, conventional wisdom says you have to be pretty ruthless yourself.
Oh, absolutely. You have to be.
Right. You have to squeeze your subcontractors, cut corners where the client won't notice, and just treat every single contract like a zero-sum battle. But today, we're looking at a man who became the 6th largest general contractor in the United States by doing the exact opposite.
It's really incredible.
It is. So, welcome to a very special broadcast here on Chesterton Radio in Atchison, Kansas. Whether you're joining us from your kitchen table, driving on your morning commute, or, just taking a quiet walk, we are so glad you're with us.
We really are.
Today's deep dive explores the remarkable life of William H. Dunn Sr., who passed away in 2026 at the age of 102.
I mean, a full century of living. And the sheer physical footprint he left behind, it's difficult to overstate. We're talking about a man who literally shapes the skylines we navigate every single day.
We really are. And just so you know, we're pulling our insights today from official company tributes from J.E. Dunn Construction, as well as memorial releases from Benedictine College.
Right.
And the premise of our journey today is really this. We are examining a man who spent 73 years building massive structures of steel and concrete, but, whose true, lasting legacy was constructed entirely out of character, faith, and relationships. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because to understand the philosophy, I feel like we first have to understand the sheer scale of the operation he was running.
Yeah, the scale is, it's what makes the philosophy so impressive. But, it didn't start that way. Bill Dunn began his career working summers for his father, Ernie Dunn, back in the early 1940s.
Wow, so really starting from the ground up.
Exactly. This was a very modest, family-run residential construction business. And after gaining that initial, boots-on-the-ground experience, he officially joined the company full-time in 1946.
Right at the dawn of the post-war construction boom.
Oh, yeah.
The country was completely transforming, and the demand for building was just, astronomical.
Precisely. And under his leadership over those subsequent decades, the company didn't just ride that wave, It engineered an entirely new paradigm.
How so?
Well, he transitioned the firm from local residential projects to these highly complex commercial structures, scaling it into a national powerhouse. I mean, we are looking at a company that eventually pulled in $8 billion in annual revenue.
$8 billion. That is staggering.
Right. Employing over 5,000 people across 26 offices nationwide.
See, that transition from a local family shop to a national corporate titan, that's where the friction usually happens.
Oh, for sure.
Usually as a company scales across 26 offices, it just bureaucratizes. It loses its soul. Like, how does someone scale a modest family business into an $8 billion national powerhouse without losing that soul?
That is the million-dollar, or I guess billion-dollar question.
Right. I mean, it's like pouring a foundation. If you build too fast on a shallow foundation, the whole thing cracks. The human element just gets replaced by, purely quantitative metrics.
That is the standard trajectory, yeah. But his foundational business strategy actively resisted that.
Yeah.
He operated on a remarkably simple, kind of unconventional principle, which was to build from the heart.
Build from the heart?
Yeah. He wasn't driven by prestige or the accumulation of material wealth. His metric for success was doing exactly what he promised, delivering 110% and doing the right thing even when no one was auditing the site.
Okay, wait, I have to challenge that narrative just a bit.
Sure.
Because commercial construction is notorious for razor-thin profit margins and cutthroat bidding wars.
Oh, it's brutal.
Exactly. So if you are constantly prioritizing people and refusing to squeeze your subcontractors and, giving more than what the contract strictly requires, how do you not just get continually underbid by developers who are willing to be ruthless?
It's a great point.
How did he survive, let alone become the 6th largest in the country?
Well, because in complex construction, friction is incredibly expensive.
Friction. Okay.
Yeah. When a general contractor is ruthless, like when they delay payments or constantly battle over change orders, subcontractors start building risk premiums into their bids.
Oh, I see.
They charge more just to deal with you. Or worse, a dispute halts a concrete pour, which means the steel team can't work. But you are still paying thousands of dollars a day for the crane rental.
Ah, so ruthlessness actually creates logistical bottlenecks.
Exactly. What Bill Dunn realized was that trust is an actual, quantifiable economic lubricant.
That is fascinating.
His famous guiding principle was literally just the golden rule. He told his people, and I quote, "Treat everyone, your clients, your employees, the designers you work for, treat them just exactly the way you want to be treated yourself, and you will be amazed at good things happening."
So when he applied that to a multi-billion-dollar supply chain, it wasn't just a nice moral sentiment, it was a serious competitive advantage.
A massive one. Subcontractors knew that if they worked for J.E. Dunn, they would be treated fairly and paid on time.
Mm.
Architects knew their designs wouldn't be compromised.
Right. The trust was built in.
Exactly. Clients knew his word was as solid as the structural steel his crews were erecting. That reputation allowed them to secure the most complex, high-stakes projects, because clients wanted certainty, not just the lowest initial bid from an unreliable contractor.
That completely explains the reputation he held across the industry. Throughout the sources, he is almost universally referred to as Mr. Dunn.
Yes, consistent.
And in a lot of corporate environments, the moniker like that is, well, it's enforced from the top down.
Like a power trip.
Yeah, it's a mechanism of fear to maintain hierarchy. But here, it reads as a deeply organic term of endearment and respect from the ground up.
Because it was. People called him Mr. Dunn because he honored their humanity first. He firmly believed that the only thing J.E. Dunn builds better than buildings are relationships. What's fascinating here is how he didn't compartmentalize that philosophy. The man sitting at the head of the boardroom table was the exact same man in his personal life.
There was no persona.
Right. He met his wife Jean at a holiday party. They raised 6 children together, and despite running a, rapidly expanding national empire, he was still the guy who made time to coach Little League teams and play catch in the yard.
It's the complete opposite of the absentee CEO.
Completely.
And when a company operates with that kind of integrated character and low-friction trust, it doesn't just grow on paper. It inevitably starts altering the actual physical geography of its home base.
Yes, it leaves a very tangible mark.
I've always thought that a city's skyline is essentially its autobiography. It tells you what a city values, where it's been, and the future it believes in. And if that holds true, Mr. Dunn was the primary author of modern Kansas City.
You really can't tell the story of Kansas City without J.E. Dunn's blueprints. Their footprint reads like a catalog of the city's most vital cultural and civic organs.
What are some of the big ones?
Well, they built the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts, which, from an engineering standpoint, is an incredibly complex architectural marvel.
Right. You don't hand a project with that kind of unique geometry and acoustic sensitivity to a contractor you don't implicitly trust.
Exactly. It requires total precision. And the list just goes on. The Nelson Atkins Museum of Art, the iconic Worlds of Fun, Truman Medical Center.
All massive institutions.
Yeah. And they also handled massive civic touchstones like the National WWI Museum and Memorial, CPKC Stadium, and the historic Kemper Arena.
He wasn't just throwing up generic office parks. He was constructing the actual spaces where the community gathers to experience art and history, health, recreation.
Which is why his impact is viewed as deeply civic, not just structural. The Downtown Council of Kansas City recognized this by awarding him the J. Philip Kirk Jr. Award.
That's a huge honor in Casey.
It is. And that wasn't an award for laying bricks. It was for his vision and guidance in revitalizing the entire downtown area. He really acted as a visionary community leader who just happened to own a construction company.
And the mechanism behind his philanthropy is fascinating, too. The sources note he served on more than 100 nonprofit boards.
Over 100. It's wild.
Over 100. You can't fake that level of commitment. And he explained his logic with a quote that I absolutely love. He said, "It's a lot more fun giving money away than making money."
It really reveals how he viewed capital. For him, wealth wasn't a high score to be hoarded in some offshore account. It was kinetic energy.
Oh, I like that. Kinetic energy.
Yeah, it was meant to be deployed back into the system to generate good for others.
Now, when you spend your entire life building things that are meant to endure, you naturally gravitate toward institutions that think in terms of centuries rather than financial quarters.
Right.
Which brings us from the sprawling macro-level map of Kansas City to a very specific faith-based community that was incredibly dear to him, and that's Benedictine College right here in Atchison.
The relationship between the Dunn family and Benedictine College is really a cornerstone for understanding who he was. Today, the physical campus is a profound testament to J.E. Dunn's craftsmanship and the family's deep commitment to Catholic education.
The structural footprint alone is staggering. You have the St. John Paul II Student Center, the Farrell Academic Center, St. Scholastica Hall, but the project that stands out to me is Elizabeth Hall.
Oh, the Abbey. Yes.
Right. They took the original 1893 Benedictine Abbey and executed this massive renovation to turn it into a modern residence hall.
Which is no small feat.
No. From a construction standpoint, renovating a late 19th century abbey is a nightmare of plaster, old wiring, and structural unknowns. It requires a builder who actually reveres the heritage of the space rather than someone who just wants to bulldoze it and start fresh.
That reverence is key.
Yeah.
But beyond the academic halls and dormitories, there was a specific, deeply spiritual contribution they made to the campus that perfectly captures the dynamic between Bill and his wife, Jean.
Okay, the story of Mary's Grotto. Here's where it gets really interesting. This is such a great story.
So it's during the college's Investing in Excellence fundraising campaign. President Stephen D. Menace is taking Bill and Jean on a walking tour of a wooded area on campus, and he is pitching this space as a potential location for a new Marian grotto.
They are out there in the trees, kind of visualizing this quiet space for prayer, and suddenly a massive tree branch comes crashing down right next to Bill.
Like, inches away.
It was a genuine, visceral, close call.
And Jean Dunn's reaction is incredible. She doesn't panic. She doesn't suggest they head back indoors. She instantly interprets this through a fierce spiritual lens.
Completely unfazed.
She declares that the devil is actively trying to stop them from building this holy site, and she looks at the fallen branch and says, it looks like there needs to be a grotto here.
What's fascinating here is how that moment encapsulates their entire partnership. There is no hesitation. They interpreted adversity as a clear signal to lean in. They didn't retreat. They immediately committed to making the project happen. They committed to the tune of $500,000 to complete the construction of Mary's Grotto in 2008.
Wow.
And the timeline alignment is beautiful, too. That year marked the 150th anniversary of both the founding of Benedictine College and the appearance of the Blessed Virgin at Lourdes.
And they didn't just write a check and walk away. They remained deeply intertwined with the life of the college. They would visit the grotto, walk the grounds, spend time talking directly with the students.
They were really present.
Very much so. The college eventually honored the couple with a Cross of the Order of St. Benedict in 2011, which is a powerful recognition of just how vital their stewardship had become to the school's mission.
So we have explored the billions in revenue, the towering skylines in Kansas City, the restoration of an 1893 abbey. But I want to shift inward for a moment and look at the philosophical architecture of a life lived this way.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Because Mr. Dunn once said, it's important to leave the world in better shape than when you came into it. So what does this all mean for us? When we look at the modern corporate obsession with ruthless short-term success, how do we reconcile that with the classical, much deeper calling of stewardship that he practiced?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it demands a complete reevaluation of how we define leadership. In most contemporary business models, success is measured strictly by extraction.
Extraction, right.
Yeah, like how much value can you extract from the market, from your employees, and from your supply chain to maximize quarterly earnings? But the Dunn family modeled a profoundly different approach, rooted in Catholic business leadership, known as servant leadership.
Which we hear tossed around as a corporate buzzword today, but we rarely see it applied at a macroeconomic scale with thousands of employees.
Because it is incredibly difficult to execute. True servant leadership operates on the radical premise that the leader exists to serve the employees, the clients, and the community.
Flips the whole hierarchy upside down.
Exactly. The company isn't a machine designed to consolidate wealth at the top. It is a community of people working together to create tangible value for society.
It fundamentally changes the definition of wealth. In this framework, wealth is not a trophy you lock away. It is a tool. It is a shovel or a hammer that you pick up to go to work for other people.
And that is the secret to leaving a legacy that outlives the physical things you build.
Because buildings don't last forever.
Right. Concrete inevitably cracks. Steel will eventually rust.
Yeah.
But a culture of integrity, a lineage of generosity that becomes a self-replicating engine that ripples outward across generations.
To really ground that idea, I want to map his century of life to something very ancient. Because when you analyze Mr. Dunn's operational manual for life, it mirrors the core values of the Rule of St. Benedict.
Oh, that's a brilliant connection.
Right. It's almost as if he took a 1,500-year-old monastic code and successfully applied it to a modern commercial construction empire.
The parallels are striking. Let's start with the Benedictine value of stability. We live in an era defined by constant disruption, job hopping, and, the pursuit of the next lucrative exit strategy.
Always looking for the next thing.
Exactly. But Mr. Dunn had a 73-year career at one single company. He planted deep, immovable roots in Kansas City and in Atchison.
73 years.
Yeah. And even after he transitioned to chairman emeritus in the year 2000,
Yeah.
he didn't check out. He remained actively involved in civic affairs and spoke to professional groups well into his 90s. Stability is the commitment to staying in your place and taking responsibility for your people.
And that flows directly into the Benedictine values of service and stewardship. It explains why he sat on over 100 nonprofit boards.
Right.
It explains why he prioritized the physical safety and financial well-being of his 5,000 employees over squeezing out a slightly higher profit margin. He viewed J.E. Dunn as a trust that he was responsible for stewarding, not merely an asset he owned.
But perhaps the most countercultural Benedictine value he embodied was humility. Think about the ego that usually accompanies the men who build skyscrapers.
Oh, it's usually massive.
Right. Yet here was a man whose company literally altered the physical geography of major American cities, and he vastly preferred coaching a Little League baseball team to seeking the limelight.
That says so much.
He didn't demand his name in neon lights.
Yeah.
His satisfaction came entirely from knowing the work was done right and that the people doing the work were treated well.
It is the quiet, unshakable confidence of a master builder.
Precisely. Because true builders understand the timeline of return on investment differently than the rest of us. They know they aren't just erecting structures for the current fiscal year.
They're looking decades ahead.
Centuries even. They are creating institutions, cultures, and environments designed to gracefully outlive them. They are planting trees under whose shade they fully know they will never sit.
I think that brings us to a deeply poignant place to close out this deep dive. When we look back at the 102 years of William H. Dunn Sr., there is a profound blueprint here. And it isn't just for engineers or business leaders.
No, it's for everyone.
It is for philanthropists, for parents, and for the students walking the campus of Benedictine College right now.
The lesson is that technical skill, ambition, and capital are necessary, but they are entirely secondary. The greatest, most enduring structures in human history are never ultimately made of steel, glass, and concrete.
No, they aren't.
They are constructed from character, from unshakable faith, and from a relentless dedication to serving the people around you.
It forces you to pause and take a hard look at the blueprints you're using for your own life.
It really does. It makes you ask what kind of foundation you are actually pouring.
And so, we leave you with this final provocative thought to mull over today. If someone were to inspect the buildings of your own life right now, the relationships you have nurtured, the honest work you have completed when no one was watching, the people you have quietly helped along the way, what kind of foundation would they find?
Something to really think about.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive on Chesterton Radio. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of the foundations you are building.